5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hello and welcome everyone back to Truth, Beer, and Podsequences. So if you've listened before, welcome back. If this is your first time listening, welcome aboard. My name is Marco, and I'm a brewer here locally in the Cincinnati craft beer scene. I just want to explain before I introduce the best podcast co-host in Podcast Landia. I just want to explain what this show is. First of all, we are a show that listens to all of the Cincinnati craft beer podcasts weekly, and then we come together and we let you know what those shows were about. And sometimes, you know, there's a little something there. I mean, it's our version of the truth, so we hope there's not too many consequences from the hosts of the other shows when, you know, we just give our own interpretation of those other shows. And now, you've waited too long. I'm not going to have you wait any longer. I'm going to introduce the best co-host in Podcast Landia, Julia.
Thank you so much, Marco. It's nice to be recognized as the best, and I say that with the humblest of words because I don't take myself that seriously at all. My name is Julia. I love to drink Cincinnati craft beer and all craft beer, and I occasionally write funny things about beer on social media, and I love beer event calendars since we are slowly creeping into that season.
We're getting there.
We are.
It is happening. Also, as we get started, I want to give a big shout out and thank you to our podcast host, BC's Bottle Lodge Montgomery. If you're thirsty, come on out to BC's Bottle Lodge Montgomery. You can get the craft beer that you need, and you get the fix. And then, if you need, they also have cold brew coffee on tap, which I had one before we got started into beer. So let's see how that goes.
Marco is going to be extra wired this show, so I apologize for him in advance for any additional antics that that we may experience.
We should incorporate that into part of every beginning of the show.
100%.
You know, Julia, when I pulled in, and I was here a little bit earlier than you are, do you know what vehicle was outside, what truck was outside?
Was it the March 1st Hummer?
It was not. A good guess, but
okay,
no.
Okay. I'm going to say, was it the BC's Bottle Lodge wrapped Jeep?
No, but good guess.
Okay.
Good guess.
I believe that I have kind of strung the audience along a little too much, but I have a feeling the truck you are talking about is our favorite non-BC's employee, our favorite, the freshest of the fresh characters.
You got it.
That walks into this establishment.
You got it, Julia.
It was more than likely the Cintas guy.
Yeah, it was the Cintas truck.
We need to get him on the show at some point.
They were here, and the this place, my God,
they were
just is so fresh.
It's fantastic. I haven't been down the hallway to the individual rooms yet, but I am sure that
you are going to love it.
I always do, which kind of
so
sounds
fresh.
Weird, but hey, there's nothing better than walking into a bathroom and the first thought is, it is so fresh and so clean.
That's right.
Thank you, Cintas Guy.
Thank you, Cintas Guy.
I love you.
Local company. Okay. I think we've got the introduction out of the way. Let's see. Julia.
Marco.
Do we have a sponsor or no sponsor, or what's going on with the sponsorships?
We do not have a sponsor for this episode. So this week we are not sponsored by Fruit Blood Wines. It is a new winery here in the Cincinnati area. They are based out of Northside. If you're familiar with Urban Artifact, this is a former brewer of Urban Artifact who has branched out on his own to create a wine company. I went to a tasting that he had at Higher Gravity in Northside about a week ago, and right now they have 4 wines that they have bottled and are selling. They have 2 red blend wines, 1 sparkling, 1 not, and 2 white blend wines, again, 1 sparkling, 1 not. Tons of real fruit in them. No added sugars, no added sulfates. I always get confused with the wines, with the S that gets into them. Absolutely delicious. So if you see them on your store shelves, or if you see anyone doing a tasting, if anyone's offering pours of them, definitely check it out. It is not craft beer, but it is craft wine. It is wine designed to be fun, loud, boisterous, and it's really good. So shout out to the newest local alcohol company here in the city.
We welcome all the alcohols. So welcome. And speaking of alcohols, Julia, I see that, well, first of all, it wouldn't be a craft beer podcast without some beer, right?
True,
or at least
true.
not a good one.
Right.
So what do you have in your glass, Julia?
I have Sonder's Nocturnal, which is their Schwarz beer. It's a lovely 5.6%. It's dark enough to kind of ease you into stout season, I feel like, now that it's a little chilly out there, but it's not super heavy. It's not something that you only have one and you're done.
Sounds delicious.
Yeah, and I see that you have your glass in front of you as well. What are you starting off the night with?
Starting off with Krombacher Pils, German Pilsner, 4.8% ABV.
Solid
out of,
staple.
Germany. It's on tap. Fresh.
As fresh as a Cintas guy leaves this place.
That's right.
Yeah. So, Marco, did you listen to any podcasts this week?
All of them.
Every single one of them?
All of them.
Awesome. Well, do you want to let the listeners know which podcast we're going to be recapping today?
I can, but how many did you listen to?
I listened to 99% of them.
Okay, well, you probably got them all then. You probably got all the ones
I got
we're
all the
talking
ones
about.
that counts, and that's what really matters.
So, let's see. What do you have? Sonder Stories?
Chapter 77 with Mark from the Common Beer Company.
Shift Beers?
Shift Beers, where they go over the Cincinnati beer staples, or Cincinnati staple beers, yep.
Mm-hmm. And then Cincy Brewcast, right?
Yeah, and all other things Gnome, the
Yep.
Cincy Brewcast episode. He talked to the guys from Madtree, and we'll also do quick recaps of Prost, his Instagram Live, where he reveals the winner of the Oktoberfest Quest, and Weekly Pint.
I'm not on Instagram, but I'm sure it was amazing.
It was pretty good. It was pretty good.
And then...
Last but not least, we finally have a new episode of Beer is Not for Boys. It was a quick episode, but I am really excited to dive back into that one and talk about what Diamond had to say.
Yes, very excited that we got another Beer is Not for Boys out. It was a quick listen, just under 10 minutes. Mm-hmm. And you know what? That's good. Good enough. Good enough for me.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and get our notes together. And do you want to jump into Sonder Stories here in a minute?
Yeah, so we're going to go, little fact, my son Vincent's here, bellied up to the bar, Mr. Soda Crusher, and prior to recording, we asked Vincent to pick the order of the shows, and that's the order we just listed them in.
All right. Well, let's get to it. So this episode of Sonder Stories, Chapter 77, Justin and Danny from Sonder were on site at the Common Beer Company, along with Chad. I apologize. I have his name written down, and I didn't say it. And they were talking to Mark from the Common Beer Company. Mark was on Sonder Stories' Oktoberfest episode, but as we all know, no one remembers that episode. It was wonderful.
First of all, that Sonder Stories episode was great. We talked about it on our show. It was a ton of fun.
Yes.
Mark Lortz, really good dude. He and his wife, Amy, own the Common Beer Company. And maybe it'll come up here in just a little bit. Mm-hmm. They named a beer a certain name, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But Mark and Amy Lortz own the Common Beer Company, and they were on location.
Yes, they were.
The Sonder Stories was on location, so that was pretty cool.
I think this is only the second time that they've been on site, and when I say on site at a location, not in the Sonder yard during a festival.
Right. It was Country Boy, right?
Yes. Yeah, they were down at Country Boy. And that was another really fun show. But speaking of fun things about Sonder Stories, they typically stay fairly Sonder focused, so it is always fun when they talk to other breweries or other businesses and use their platform to focus on them, because everything ties in together. Everything kind of circles back to making the Cincinnati craft beer community phenomenal, but something that we could possibly be looking forward to here. I'm not going to say soon or shortly, because we all know that Danny TikTok Herald is incredibly busy, but they are trying to find a way to do some video aspects to their podcasts, which if they're able to get that up and rolling, that is going to be a really good time.
It will be, and I don't know if their plan is for every episode once this actually rolls out, or if it's special episodes. But we did mention that if there was video for the Oktoberfest episode, that would have been fantastic to watch.
Gosh,
that content, because the content just lent itself so well to video.
It really did.
They dug into the beginning of the Common Beer Company, and so they're 3 years old, right?
Correct, yeah. Yep,
3 years old. I remember when they opened, the brewer and I over at the place I don't work at or brew beer at, we stopped in, said hi. Not long after they had opened, or just before they opened, I can't remember which. It was close. And
so long ago. So long ago.
So many beers in between then and now. And they were just super accommodating. They do touch on the fact that when they opened with one brewer, and then, as things evolve and change and so on and so forth, and they got another brewer, and the beers that they have on tap, the staples they have, Meg's
57,
which is a shout out to Mark and Amy's daughter, Maggie, and that's a braggot.
Which is surprising. There aren't, and they even touched on this during Sonder Stories, there are not a lot of braggots out there, and the fact that such a less commonly known style is one of their most popular beers is fantastic.
It's an easy drinking beer. It's on the light side, so it's right in the lane with somebody who wants to
sit and drink for a while.
Have a few pints.
Yeah,
It's easy drinking, delicious beer. They've won awards for the beer. So
yeah, some of their other best-selling styles are their ESB and their West Coast IPA as well. So
yeah, the West Coast is the Lort's Prayer.
Great name.
Play off the last name of the ownership, and then they do have a trend. They have a hazy. It's the Muzz, right?
Yeah, Muzzy.
Muzzy,
which is what Danny had enjoyed earlier in the show. Justin had Meg's 57. One of the more interesting things that I thought of, or not that I thought of, that they touched on when they were listening was, I forget who exactly said the phrase "as the crow flies," but there were a couple members of the group that weren't quite sure what that means.
No, but Mark Lortz was right there, ready to bail him out right there. He's like, I got you. I know this. And so they were basically talking about the beer community in Mason and the places that you can go that are very close, that as far as breweries are concerned, that are very close,
right,
within the area. And they were discussing the approximate distance between each of the locations. And so Mark jumped in there and bailed them out.
Yeah, and for those of you who might not be familiar with the phrase "as the crow flies," I'll kind of go over how Mark explained it, because I thought he did a fantastic job. So, when crows fly somewhere, judging the distance by how they get from point A to point B is actually pretty simple. So you start going off, and you start in a straight line from your starting location to your destination. And then about 5 minutes or maybe a mile, depending on how you want to use that, into the journey, you get distracted by something shiny. Ooh, another brewery over there. Ooh, a bottle shop over here. You get distracted for about 2 or 3 hours, and then you remember, oh, I meant to go here, and then you end at your destination. So as the crow flies is basically any time that you're going somewhere, you get distracted by 5 or 6 other things, but you still eventually end up at your destination.
And I think I don't remember if it was Danny or Justin. Somebody said, I don't know if that's true. And then Mark just hit him with, look it up.
Yeah.
Just look it up. And like, well, no, we believe you. He pulled out that card. He's like,
look it up. Prove me wrong. And no one did.
No, and they're like, no, Mark, I trust you. Absolutely, that's what it is. We mentioned that they were in their 3 years old.
Yes.
They did mention, as far as a business perspective, you know it at 3 years in, especially with a weirdo year or two that we've had, that look, for all the people that care as far as financially or funding, banks, businesses, that kind of thing, and they're like, look, You're here. You're established. This is the time where you move forward, you go forward, and Mark makes mention of, at year 5, we're going to get in, we're going to make some money. Now, they also talk about Mark and Amy, they still maintain their full-time job.
Yes.
Putting the blood, sweat, and tears into getting the business open, continuing the business, but they have people running the business that have basically been with the business since opening. That's really cool to see a business start and, a space like that. It's a really cool, when people use the word cozy for houses, that means like small and cute, right?
Like that's not a lot of room to move around.
That's a code word for something, right?
Yes.
No, but this is a really neat space, and the inside is very well done from a decor standpoint. When the weather is great, the outside, the back patio is very well done. It's very spacious. It probably doubles the taproom space.
Kind of ashamed to admit I have yet to be up to visit Common Beer Company. We'll get there. We'll
get over there.
Yeah.
Vincent and I were there last week.
Nice. Very nice. One of the things, kind of circling back a little bit to Sonder Stories becoming a sports podcast, I believe it was Justin who said that someone sent him a picture of a person wearing a red University of Nebraska shirt that said "You Betcha" on it. And that kind of set Justin off a little bit about the whole, intellectual property and trademarks and all that. So he is about 5 minutes away from submitting a cease and desist to the University of Nebraska saying "You Betcha" is our thing. It cannot be your thing. He's still willing to share it with Wisconsin because that's really where it initiated. But Nebraska is a little too far out of the way. So
too bad, Nebraska.
Yep.
Too bad. You done messed up now.
Messed up. For sure. Oh, going up to Columbus, I saw the Sonder Brewing Company highway sign. I was very excited. I pointed it out to my Josh, like, "Hey, check it out!" And you guys
didn't pull over and take a picture, a little selfie.
It was on the way home. We were tired. We were ready to.
So, if any of our listeners are passing the road sign that has Sonder Brewing on it, just pull over, stop, take a selfie with the picture, and then
send it to Sonder Stories.
And
they may buy you a beer for it.
I mean, or not.
We're making that. They may or may not
shout it out, retweet it, or
it's worth a shot.
Photoshop Danny in the picture. Also, some interesting things about getting a brewery started. They have their equipment. They're going. They're getting open. They're getting the beers ready to be out there into the world. And
are they though?
Out there in the world, meaning people to come and drink.
Okay.
They don't really distribute. There's a keg here or there.
Yeah. Okay.
But they don't really distribute, and their plan's not really to distribute.
Yeah. And I just wanted to point that out just in case anyone goes out looking for their beer at their favorite bar, bottle shop, that kind of thing. Chances are good you're not going to find it.
Right.
But if you do find it, definitely snag a pint or two.
That's why
wherever you are.
I was going to say don't bother. However, that's inaccurate. There's maybe 2-3 places that have it, but they're really close to the tap room.
Yeah.
But they were able to find out through trial and error, which is how it happens when breweries open, right? Everybody's getting used to their system. They found out that even though it's a 6.5 barrel system, really efficiencies dictate that to come out the best way the beer should be presented. They only brew about 4.5 barrels on that system. They had a little bit of an oops. They were going for it, making a big beer and maxed out, and the false bottom on the mash tun collapsed.
Yeah,
which is
can't be a fun day for anyone when that happens.
It's devastating. I haven't had the false bottom on the mash tun collapse, but I have definitely had some situations where, essentially a stuck mash, and on 1 or 2 occasions I wanted to crawl into a ball and cry.
Yeah. When you put that much effort and time and, money with the ingredients into something, and then just through sheer, I don't know if you want to call it coincidence or what, just sheer bad luck, it's gone in a matter of seconds.
It's one of those things where it works on paper, but in reality, you had to go through it to know that it wasn't going to work. So finding out the capabilities or maxing out the capabilities of your system is something that you usually don't know until you go through it. It's kind of like I'll make this analogy for all the people that know what I'm talking about with gumbo, right? Gumbo, you got to make a roux. You get your flour and your oil and get heat it up in your pot, and you just start stirring and stirring and stirring. And you're like, well, I want a really dark roux, and you just keep stirring and stirring and stirring and stirring. And you got to know through trial and error. Okay, this is the perfect color, the perfect the perfect time to start the next process with this gumbo, and if you go too far, you
lose the whole thing.
You burnt the roux. You got to start all over again. So it's kind of in a way is similar. So I mean, I get it, but they found that out, and they dialed in, and they're putting out fantastic beer. Yeah,
well, that's awesome. That really covered the majority of the Sonder Stories chapter for this week. Was there anything else that you wanted to go over about it? Actually, there was one thing that I did want to mention, not about this episode, but the episode that released today, the day that we record, chapter 78. It is about their anniversary that is happening this weekend, just due to scheduling with when they release their podcast and when we record. Didn't have a chance to listen to it, but it is about their anniversary, so please give it a listen. We'll be covering it next week, but we'll be doing kind of a post-anniversary special recap of it, so the anniversary will have already happened. But yeah, try to listen to that episode if you can to get all of the inside information about their third anniversary happening this Saturday, November the 6th.
Exactly, Julia. I think anything else that I was going to say, I'm going to reserve for the listeners to go and check out Sonder Stories podcast. Also, go and check out the Common Beer Company.
Yes, absolutely. It's definitely somewhere that I need to visit, and hopefully I will be up there soon. So, Marco, how's your glass looking?
You know what? It's looking empty.
All right. Well, let's take a real quick break, and when we come back, we will go over shift beers.
Let's do it.
We are back, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for sticking around while Marco got his glass refilled. I'm still good on my Nocturnal from Sonder Brewing. And while we were getting, actually, Marco, what did you end up getting from BC's Bottle Lodge Montgomery?
Had it on the show before from 18th Street Brewery. This is Uncrushable. It's a West Coast IPA that sort of a collab with Adina Distributing, and I really
Adina's third anniversary, I believe. Collab, something like that. It was one of their anniversaries.
Yeah, it was third because there's 3 slashes on the back of the turtle shell, and the turtle is Adina Distributing's little logo.
Yeah, cool.
And I just really, really love to, in any way that I can, support those folks over at Adina Distributing. I truly, truly like the business, and they've always been great to me. So shout out to Adina Distributing. Their core business is Cincinnati craft.
Yeah. And speaking of Cincinnati craft, our Shift Beer segment is actually sponsored, not by Shift Beers, but we got beer bombed while we were taking our quick break by Derek from 50 West. He dropped off 2 beers. Get Baked, a peach cobbler sour, which is a sour ale brewed with peach, apricot, cinnamon, vanilla, and lactose, which means Marco cannot enjoy this one, but I will let him know all about it. And Marco, what was the other one that you and I are just dying to crack into once our glasses are empty?
The Best of Times Barbecue Rub Porter collaboration between 50 West and Great Lakes.
That sounds so good.
It sounds so good. It sounds so amazing. We are going to crack into that for sure.
Yes, a rub with cayenne and coffee. How can you go wrong with that?
I think you're going to go wrong with it. It sounds amazing.
All right.
Wish I'd have thought about it.
Yeah, same here. All right, so Shift Beers, episode 56, Cincy Staples and more. So the episode actually started with us finding out that someone actually paid the $499 Patreon level for Shift Beers because Chris murked an entity.
In the show. Right before the show
started. So I kind of never thought the day would come when that would happen, but once again, the folks at Shift Beers prove us wrong. You never know what you're going to get from their show. And just since I mentioned the Patreon, the most recent Patreon episode that they released, absolutely amazing. You need to sign up for their Patreon if you're able to. All I'm going to say about their Patreon bonus, Jesus got involved. So some serious shit went down.
Yeah, it's serious when Jesus gets involved.
And shout out to Brian and Chris, who were here at BC's Bottle Lodge Montgomery when I walked in. I don't know if they were here when you showed up, but
they were. Yeah,
okay,
they
awesome.
were. Vincent and I walked in, and I happened to look up. When you come and experience BC's Bottle Lodge and its freshness and all of the amazing things that they have to offer on tap, and then you see that when you walk into the left, you can immediately go up into an area that has nothing but local craft beer. Well, when I walked in, they were there. They were in that area.
Okay.
Kind of squatted down a little bit, and then they wanted to surprise me, boo.
Yeah. Did it work?
No.
So you weren't surprised at all to see them?
I don't flinch.
See, I would have been surprised to see them here, not because of the crouching tiger hidden Chris, jumping out from behind the.
That's what it was, crouching tiger
Brian,
hidden Chris.
It would be more because this is the second time we've seen them in here, even though they say over and over, we're always here, always here, always here. Josh, Beth, hopefully we'll run into you guys sometime soon. But let's dig into Shift Beers. So yeah, Chris finally got to murk, get his murderousness on.
He needed to let that out. It was festering.
So. I think so.
It was just building up. It was festering. He needed to let that out.
He knew he had the opportunity to do that with that Patreon level. And
you can only hold something lethal in for so long, and then you have to. It just has to come out.
Yeah, and I think that. I think the target was a good one. I mean, I'm not upset about it at all.
So they get started. Of course, they have a shifty before they go into it. And Chris brought, and since he said it was within the theme of the show, Cincy staples.
Right.
He brought Yuengling,
which is not a Cincinnati beer. To me, saying you want a Cincinnati staple, to me, that would indicate you're picking Cincinnati beers. I understand where he was coming from with that because Yuengling is beloved in the city, but it's not. I don't know. It's not what would come to my mind when looking for Cincinnati staple beers.
I know, and everybody tried to voice that they understood what he was talking about, and I will say, I'll pass along a true story from Marco's past. So I was a home brewer, and I homebrewed for 10 years before I started brewing at a brewery, and I've been at the brewery for 5 years now. But anyway, one of my earliest homebrew batches was a Scotch ale.
Okay.
And my peer, one of my coworkers, and then my supervisor really liked beer, and my peer had gone off to Pennsylvania for a thing, a trip, and brought back Yuengling. So he brought back Yuengling, and I said, I've got some homebrew. And so what we did is we, got off work, and we did a little share. And Yuengling was really good. We couldn't get Yuengling here, and so fast forward a few years later, you could get Yuengling. They had posters and announcements, and it's coming, and it was a huge deal that Yuengling was coming. And we got Yuengling, and it was great, and you can get Yuengling in 12-pack bottles, and you could get Yuengling in 6-pack bottles, and you can get Yuengling in suitcase handles, in cans, and it was huge. Everywhere is Yuengling. It was yay, Yuengling! Yeah. It's an easy drinking beer. I mean, it's
good. Yeah.
and-
I mean, it's good. It's easy drinking. I do not fault it at all.
And this city embraced it. No reason not to.
No.
I don't know if it's a Cincinnati staple, but I support craft, and there's still craft, and hey, you bring a tasty beer, you drink the tasty beer.
Yeah. Do you want to go over the other 3 Cincinnati staples that they picked out to kind of get that part of their show tied up in a little bow, and then we can kind of branch out into all of the other things that happened during the show, including the most important part of our recap, which is the burp count?
Yeah, I mean, let's get into it. So, Return of the Mac?
No. Try again.
Let's see. Cranium?
Nope. No, that is apparently not a Cincinnati staple to them.
Let's see. Okay, I'm gonna get.
Think broader. Think more popular.
Panther.
No, still not there.
Dented silo.
Looking at my notes. No, that was not one of the Cincinnati staples.
Oh.
You give up? One more shot.
Coast to Coast.
No, but that should have been. That was definitely something that they talked about when talking about kind of the broad spectrum of what could be a Cincinnati staple. But the 4 beers that they came up with as Cincinnati staples are Yingling. What the fuck? But hey, cool. Their list, not mine.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yingling, Braxton Storm, Madtree Psychopathy, and Rheingeist Truth. 2
Cincinnati beers and one in the greater Cincinnati area. However, Braxton does have a tap room here in Cincinnati.
Yeah, so they are a Cincinnati brewery.
Have you been there?
I have not.
I have not either.
I stepped in when it was 3 points.
Yeah.
But I have not been up there since it has made the transition to Braxton.
This is a podcast about podcasts. If anybody is out there that wants to start a Twitter or an Instagram, you could list the places that Julie and I have not been to or need to get to, and then you can just run a tally,
such
a running
long
tally.
List. Oh my gosh, such a long list.
And that would be great. And then eventually, we make a day of it somehow.
Yeah.
Maybe get Mike Stokes from Cincy Brew Bus involved and schlep us around.
Yeah, we can drink wine in the brew bus while we go to all the breweries and drink beer. I don't know if you should mix the two.
Oh, and then we need to get a sponsor for a couple of hotel rooms. So,
because once the brew bus tour is over, we are not going anywhere.
Nah. Sounds like a good idea, though. Yeah, we tend to come up with these good ideas on the show. It's the execution. Hey, anybody out there wants us to help us with planning and execution on all these great ideas?
And maybe paying for some of it? Because
yes.
That's going to be an expensive venture for us.
Yes. So all of you listeners out there, I know you love the show. Help us pay for stuff.
Yeah.
Reach out. Catch us at Truth Beer Pod almost everywhere.
I'll set up a PayPal for it.
That'd be great. One of the biggest things that comes up in the show is that with trying to do justice to the product they're going to try on the show, they are snobs about dates on beers.
Yes.
Now, and I'm not saying they're snobby for the sake of being snobby. They want to review the beer in its form that's freshest.
Yeah, and kind of its purest form, the way that it's meant to be enjoyed, and not just, it's been on the shelf for 6 months, so it might not taste the same as.
It's not the same as originally intended. Not saying it's not good.
Correct.
Not saying it has any flaws, and this is for just about every beer. Just about every beer, barrel aged, not barrel aged, just about every beer. There's a very small segment of beers that this is not necessarily true for, but breweries put out the product that they want to put out, and you should drink it when they put it out.
Correct, unless they specifically say cellar this, or this is okay to cellar which, a lot of barrel-aged beers, there are a couple breweries that actually put this on the can. This will cellar well.
Yeah.
But if it doesn't,
Things like
if it doesn't expressly say that,
some of the
enjoy it.
saisons, and here's another thing too. So let's say you have some really fantastic saison, you store it in, let's say, the refrigerator.
Yeah.
You have a beer fridge, you're going to store it in the refrigerator. You can pull that out 2 years from now, and it probably won't be very different from the original, because that transition, that transformation, that usually happens at cellar temperature, not refrigerated temperatures. So keep that in mind. Look, when beer comes out, that's the way that they intend on you to drink it. So
are you saying that the Braxton pumpkin spice vibe that I've been cellaring in my fridge since last year, I should probably drink that?
I would. Well, you should.
I should.
You should definitely. No need to
involve
share.
you on that
no,
one. You
there's
sure?
not.
Because I'm more than happy.
Look, Julia, I am more than happy to imbibe in anything that you bring that is not going to harm me from a physical or gastrointestinal sort of situation. But I mean, you don't need to do that.
Okay. Well, thank you. I will. Maybe I'll wait another year and see if. And that way, because
there's an idea.
Because I don't believe that they released Pumpkin Spice Vibe this year. So I could wait until they release it again and slowly build up like a vertical of it, and then try it.
Oh, that's amazing.
Together,
and maybe you can get Danny Harold out here to try your vertical, because since he and the Gnome did a vertical of Thunder Snow.
Oh my God, that sounded so amazing.
Well, first of all,
amazing.
Can we talk about the name Thunder Snow? To me, it sounds like somebody having the terrible diarrhea.
No, not at all, because I remember days when I was younger where you would be outside in the winter playing in the snow and there would be thunder. And it'd be like, what is happening? I was too young to remember that. So, no, I love the name. I get no negative connotations about it whatsoever.
No, the beer is great. I just think
the name, yeah. I mean,
but the name to me, the first thing I think of is somebody with intense diarrhea. And then I'm like, no, it's about the winter and, all of that. And I'm like, okay, that's fine.
All right. I mean, wherever your mind takes you.
Should not.
No, I'm not giving you free rein by saying that.
Good thing only for about an hour and a half on Tuesdays do I have a microphone.
Just remember, I do have a mute button.
Oh, my wife loves that.
Should you go off the rails, I am not afraid.
Oh, shout out to my wife, Rachel. She loves that.
So going back to shift beers, I do want to give a huge shout out to Brian, who has finally, after at least 6 years, graduated from beer school.
Congratulations.
He is officially a certified beerologist. I think that's the official term, isn't it? For the things that he does?
Yeah.
A beerologist.
Yeah, it is. Sure.
Or like just a stirrer. Because isn't that mostly what you guys do when you brews? You just stir things?
What Brian does usually is just stirring.
Oh
my God! So there is a little bit of a Vincent hanging around.
Oh
so,
yeah, he's throwing down some bars for Brian. For Brian.
There was a segment where they talked about the Renaissance Festival.
Yes.
And oh my God! Okay, so you need to go and listen. And I don't want to build it up too much, but there ends up being this guy who Josh talks about. I mean, how he held, what is it, a falcon or a bird?
Which seemed awesome. Yeah, he got hold a falcon.
And if you're friends with the show, he shared him holding a falcon.
Yep.
And which is really cool. But there was this person, this guy there, who was taking money to essentially roast people.
Whoever you wanted. Yeah.
Whoever you wanted.
Yeah.
And Brian, like they all blanked on all the jokes or the roasts or anything like that. But if you haven't met Button Brian, he's got some tats. He's tatted up.
Yep.
He's even got him on his.
Yeah,
he's even got him on his hands.
Yeah.
And he said,
which means he's never going to find a job anywhere.
Ever.
So even though he is now an official beerologist, best of luck to him. Yeah. But no, this is amazing. I loved this.
So he was walking through the Renaissance Festival, and this guy, and it was like you're supposed to throw like, I don't know, rotten tomatoes or like pointy carrots at him or something. And then the guy's like throwing comments at him, and finally goes, "Hey man, nice tattoos. I bet when you jump in the water, the sound goes douche."
I had to pause the podcast. I was laughing so hard at that. It's like I want to find a reason to use that joke.
Oh, it's going to come up eventually.
It's amazing.
We're going to whether together or individually, we're going to. That's stored now in the memory bank.
Mm-hmm.
What else was Shift Beers? Oh, so they went into how tough it was to find a lot of the beer that they were hoping to take to the show. And did we reference this earlier? The
we
dates?
didn't really. We referenced the fact that they are date snobs when it comes to beer, which is the brewers when the companies put out these beers, they want you to drink them when they put them out at their freshest. So yes, we did
we
go
were
into
kind
that.
of as the crow flies.
Correct. As the crow flies.
Yeah,
yes.
and so
100% good.
And so they were meticulous, and there were several beers that they talked about on the show they were hoping to find, and just didn't appear on the show for date reasons.
Right.
I mean, you make your own decision on that kind of stuff. If it's out there, it's on the shelf. It's gonna be tasty. For the most part, overwhelmingly, the breweries in this community, they care about what's in your glass from a quality standpoint.
Right.
And I mean, so much so to the point where we're really building up some hardware from these fantastic, the big beer place events that congratulate with awards, the what they feel are the best.
Yeah.
And they picked some great beers.
Yeah, I thought so.
They picked some great beers.
The only one that I was a little iffy on was Yuengling, just because it does not come from a Cincinnati craft brewery.
No.
But I can understand where Chris was coming from by picking Yuengling as one of the staples. I mean, it did hit Cincinnati, all of Ohio, hard and heavy, and it is still, it's still flying off the shelves.
You got to give it to them for the fact that other craft breweries, not nearly the size of Yuengling. I mean, come on now.
Yeah.
But other craft breweries will come in, they'll dip their toe in the water, and they're like, you know what? Yeah, we can't really hang around.
Yeah,
can't stick
we
around.
can't hang with the big boys.
So they end up doing, sort of like a one-time dump or a drop or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, Yuengling, they're around. I mean, and they're going to be around. And
Yep.
It's a good alternative to going and grabbing something from some of the other, breweries.
Right.
Big
the big
guys.
names that we're not going to mention because big beer has no place on our table. Kind of. I mean, you've kind of had a couple big beers at our table.
All right.
So,
all I'm doing is I'm trying to help. I'm trying to.
You keep your palate expanded, and you drink some of those beers to come back to Cincinnati beers and go, man, we've got something great going on here.
We do.
We really do.
We do.
Kind of I only had one other thing to touch on Shift Beers before we get to the burp count.
Yep.
And I don't want to dig too much into it because I thought it was a fantastic part of the conversation. Listen to this week's episode of Shift Beers to find out about buying an RV. The Shift Beers have a story about an RV showing up.
Yep.
Which then took them down a train of we should buy an RV. And I will say that, yes, a mobile meth lab was part of the conversation, but I think it's something that you and I should think about investing in if we ever get to the point to where we're traveling from brewery to brewery.
Yep, brewery to brewery. Nice studio on the inside there. Good runaround sort of thing. When we go on tour for all of the people that follow us on
tons
the
of listeners, yeah.
Tons of listeners, and then eventually everybody that watches our video content.
We're thinking about it. It's video may be coming. We don't want to put the horse too much in front of the cart too much in front of the horse. I don't know, phrases as the crow flies.
Right, exactly.
Yep.
But yeah, that was in there. Go check out the show and listen to the brilliance, and then can't move on without mentioning one of our favorite parts of talking about shift beers. It's the burp count.
Yeah. Do you want to go over what the burp count is?
The burp count. So essentially, if you wanted to turn one of the Cincinnati craft beer podcasts into a drinking game, we've decided that shift beers is probably the show to do it with. You could come at it from a couple of different angles. When they play a SpongeBob rejoin, how many times
Which
Chris
they actually haven't done a whole lot lately. So I'm kind of glad we didn't build a drinking game around that one.
Yeah. When Chris has an Alzheimer's moment, or when Chris mentions murdering Josh's, what is it, grandfather?
Yeah.
The one that we picked was when they have an audible burp, and that's true. That's proven to be a money. So what we said was the average sip of liquid, whatever you're choosing to drink or imbibe in, is about 2 ounces. So what we do is we meticulously listen to and count audible burps.
Yes.
And then we give you that number, and then we do the math for you. So now, first of all, if you do this while you're listening to the show, you already know how many beverages you had. But if you haven't listened to the show yet, and then you do it after listening to this episode, you at least know how many beers to get together, to ice down, to have them cold and ready to go. You know the challenge in front of you. So, Julia, you wanna give the people the math here?
Yes.
What we got on the math side? Did you do the maths?
I did do the maths. The internets, the Googles, the calculators helped me to ensure that I was as accurate as possible with the maths. So for episode 56 of Shift Beers, they had a grand total of 59 burps, which is only like less than 20 down from their all-time high of 70 some odd. Don't feel like flipping back through my notes for that. But 59 burps in this episode, which equals out to 118 ounces, which means during this episode you would have had to drink 7.375 pints of your favorite liquid beverage.
That's a good start.
Yeah, it's not bad.
It's a good start. If let's say you're on vacation, or let's say you have an extended weekend, if you want to get started with shift beers in the morning, get you some, a nice coffee stout or something, and then, roll into some easy drinking lagers.
Can you imagine trying to do the burp count? Like, I know a lot of people listen to podcasts at like 1.5 or 2 times speed. Can you imagine how quickly you would have to throw those back?
No.
Whew.
Whew.
That's the next challenge for you.
You know what? That's a lot there, Julia.
It is.
No doubt. And probably if you're listening at 2 times speed, you probably are better off, like, I don't know, every few minutes pausing and just chugging.
Chugging, yeah.
Speaking of chugging.
Yes.
Did we go over Banger in a Box?
We did not. We completely glossed over that one. Marco, you go ahead. Since I covered the burp count, you want to do a quick cover of Banger in a Box before we move on?
I will. Banger in a Box is where the Shippers crew, they have 2 boxes. And one box has a banger, a beer you want to drink, and the other box has a Smirnoff Ice.
Oh, or that.
And
Marco is so proud of me right now.
So what happens is there's a coin flip, and then the person that wins the coin flip has the opportunity to look inside the box.
Yes.
And then the person who did not look inside the box has the opportunity to ask questions and get to the bottom of whether they want to switch boxes or not.
Yes. So this was the championship round, like the final round of the Banger in a Box.
For the Grand Champion.
Yes. Very nice. Very nice.
So the contestants for the Grand Champion were Josh.
And Chris.
Yeah. And so Josh lost the coin toss. And then Chris had to start asking questions.
And the questions he asked. It was pretty intense.
I don't know why he got so personal. I mean, went back into his childhood and stuff like that.
I mean, we know what Chris did to Josh's grandfather.
Right.
You would think that would be enough. But to pull pulls some of those memories, Josh wetting himself in the 3rd grade, and I mean just the almost lifetime stigma that brings with it, and I don't know. I kind of feel like Chris went a little far, but it was the final round to determine the grand champion of the banger in a box, and that really doesn't work out in French accent, but I mean, he kind of, went in all guns blazing. He did what he had to do, and a winner was crowned.
A winner was crowned, and despite, his John Wick approach to the questions, the winner of Banger in a Box Season 1, the Grand Champion.
You'll have to listen and find out. Ladies and gentlemen, we're back after taking a quick break to get some of the best plastic cups that money does not have to buy here at BC's Bottle Lodge in Montgomery. We are about to crack into the Great Lakes 50 West collaboration, the best of times barbecue rub porter. It is brewed with coffee and cayenne. Thank you so much to Derek and 50 West for beer bombing us, for giving us this amazing beer for us to share and drink on the show.
Wasn't that the name of a movie with Robin Williams and Kurt Russell?
Probably.
It was the best.
The best of times, and then if Marco drinks, this lactose-infused sour, he'll have the worst of times.
It was the best of times. Terrible Robin Williams impression.
So not only do you do Morgan Freeman, you do Robin Williams. Is there no impression you cannot do? Your wife is so lucky.
We will find out. We will find out. Julia, I'm going to crack this open.
Yeah. Oh, crispy. Oh no.
Yeah.
What we learned from episode 1 of recording that we did not count on is one of the key things to have when you podcast is a towel. So once again,
and
we'll be right back.
And do not crack by the mixer.
So we just had a fun experience, but the table is now fresh and clean.
That's right.
And we now have lovely plastic cups full of a barbecue dry rub beer.
Yeah. So hold on, let me get the mic over here.
Could you hear the cheers of the plastic cups?
Cheers.
Yeah.
Yay.
So that was exciting. Luckily for us, the excitement did not get to the mixer. That would have been a thing. But yeah, Marco, why don't you?
Yeah, so I'll take a drink, Julia.
Okay.
Did you have a sip already?
I did. Not at least in the very beginning. I'm not getting a ton of cayenne. I'm one of those people where if there's a spicy pepper or something that should have a little bit of not necessarily heat, but tingliness, like cayenne, something like that, I like to experience it more than what I'm getting out of this beer. It's good. I'm definitely not upset about it.
The temperature's right to be able to pick up the subtleties, tastes, and nuances. I do get, the deep roasty notes. I get the profile of the beer. I do pick up a little bit of spice. Yeah. But the spice in a broad category, right?
Yeah, it's not
heat.
Right. I don't know that I necessarily would drink this and go, oh, cayenne, if I hadn't read the can. But there is that little bit of that spice quality. It's good. Like I said, I think if I'm going to go for a beer that has that kind of hot, spicy additive to it, I mean, I'm going to go for one of the Carolina Reaper beers from Fibonacci. But still, thank you, 50 West. This was awesome.
Really,
it was exciting
in
all kinds of ways, and this actually leads us really well into the whole section du Gnome, our all of the Gnome things, because on this week's The Weekly Pint, he asked what beer he should open up, and this was one of them. It's not the one that he ended up opening, but it was on his studio desk.
Yep. And so it was just pretty crazy, fortuitous that it landed here with us. And thank you, Derek, for bringing it to us. I truly appreciate the gesture. and I truly appreciate the beer. Getting into all things Gnome.
Yes.
So we have a Cincy Brewcast that we're going to talk about.
We do.
And then what else do you have, Julia?
We have the Weekly Pint, the Instagram Live, which I know that you're not on Instagram yet, but that was where he crowned the king of the Oktoberfest Quest. And then also episode of Prost.
All right.
Yeah, which one did you want to start with?
Well, Instagram.
Okay. He did as I just said, the final Oktoberfest Quest. It was a three-way battle between Sonder, 50 West, and Westside's Oktoberfest. They all were excellent beers. 50 West did get edged out of the, funnily enough, competition first. So then it became a Sonder versus Westside battle. And the winner was crowned. I'm sure that he'll announce it on other social media, but just in case he kind of leaves it just an Instagram-only thing, Sonder was crowned King of Oktoberfest Quest of 2021.
Well, how about that?
Yeah, well
no surprise, right?
They make great
from just about any of the ones that made it through the first round, you're like, okay, well, I mean, pretty much anybody could win.
Yeah.
And he crowned his winner. So.
Well, and Westside was a beer that was eliminated earlier on in the Oktoberfest Quest, but he gave people on Instagram and maybe Twitter, I believe, an option to kind of throw out the name of the beer that was eliminated that they wanted back, that they felt should still be in the competition. Westside won, so they got to be in the final two. They won the silver. 50 West took home the bronze. Good times. Can't wait to see what happens next year with that one.
Oh, it's just going to be bigger and better than ever, I would imagine.
Even more Oktoberfest, yeah.
Yeah.
He's going to need to get yet another fridge just for Oktoberfest beers. Huge fridge.
Huge fridge.
A huge one.
Well, congratulations, Sonder, friends of the show.
Yep.
And you can, I'm sure, parlay that into many millions and millions of dollars somehow.
Mm-hmm. You want to move into this week's Prost?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. I feel like he kind of coined a new Gnome catchphrase during this show, do fall different, because he was expecting to drink an Urban Artifact beer that is typically released this time of year, Operation Plowshare, but due to issues with blackberries, he got something brand new and very unfall-like. It was Urban Artifacts Waterbird, which is a pink guava Midwest. Was it a Midwest fruit tart? Or was it just a...
do you need me to look it up?
Probably, because I don't have that written down. But it's a very tropical beer, again, made with pink guava. It was a beautiful pink, thick pink color. And really, really good. I personally am not a huge fan of guava, so I may or may not give this one a try if I see a single can out there somewhere. It's all good. It's an Urban Artifact beer. It's going to be good. It's going to be tart. It's going to be so full of fruit that you're practically drinking fruit juice. Prost is a great show as far as just kind of a real quick, this is what I'm drinking. Here's a beer that I'm enjoying. Let me tell you a little bit about it, about the style. So not a whole lot more to say, but definitely check out Prost. Only other thing we have before we get into Cincy Brewcast is Weekly Pint. Was there anything else Prost-wise that you wanted to go over before we do a quick Weekly Pint recap and then go into the meat and potatoes of what Gnome's doing right now?
No, I'm good. We can move on.
All right, so Weekly Pint. Weekly Pint is a live show that's not a show that he does every Monday, typically between 9 and 9:30, depending on when he's able to jump online. It is streamed to Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube. I feel like everywhere that you can watch a live stream, the Weekly Pint is there. And basically, it's just kind of like a happy hour. We just sit around and drink together. Gnome lets us know what he's drinking. He wants to know what we're drinking. So part of the Weekly Pint is just having a conversation, and the TTB labels are something that Gnome likes to share with everyone on the show. These are labels that have been submitted to the TTB, but something that I don't think he clarifies enough is just because a brewery has submitted a label for a beer doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be hitting shelves or hitting packaging or distribution. I feel like more often than not it does, but I mean, you never know. It's not a surefire thing.
You never know.
Yeah. Oh man, first time we're getting a song in this episode, Marco. You've been slacking, or you've been giving us a bit of a break. Not sure.
I mean, could be both. Who knows?
So what else was there on the Weekly Pint besides some fun labels to potentially look forward to if the breweries decide to bless us with their physical presence?
Yeah, the Weekly Pint. I mean, you and I were on it live. Mm-hmm. We were exchanging text messages, or not text messages, but...
I mean, that too, but, you know.
Yeah, but...
It's just a fun little, like, hangout show. I mean, I don't want to say that there's a ton to, like, really recap just because it is a conversation. You know, Gnome went over, he let us know about some of the kind of big news stories happening with non-Cincinnati breweries.
Yeah, there was a big portion where the Gnome went in and talked about some stuff that was going on with Stone.
They're
closing
being arrogant
some tap
bastards.
room. Yeah, arrogant bastards.
Yeah.
They were so arrogant, they just decided they weren't going to pay rent at a certain facility, and they're like, "Hey, COVID," and you know, they're trying to say,
which I mean that only was an excuse for so long, especially for a place that is still producing and selling and.
I mean, good
not
luck.
Shut down. Yeah, good
luck with that.
to them, but. Yeah.
I mean, do I really mean good luck? I don't know. Maybe not.
Maybe. The video is available to watch on YouTube and Facebook, so go check it out and just kind of see what the Weekly Pint's all about, and maybe join us all for a beer next week.
Would be fun to get some new voices, new people to interact with. And there's a lot of interaction around Beer, Booze, and Bonks.
Yes,
which
get your tickets.
Is
thegnarlygnome.com/tickets, November 20th.
Yep. So there was talk about that, and you know, goes into Beer, Booze, Bonks, and then we kind of wrapped it up.
Gnome did touch on one thing just based off of one of the labels that I want to talk about a little more when we recap the actual Cincy Brewcast episode with Madtree, and that's non-alcoholic beers.
Yep,
So
we did talk about that. And yes, it bleeds into or lends itself into waiting for that discussion until we get into the next show.
Absolutely. So, Marco, how's your glass? Are you good for us to go through Cincy Brewcast, or do you need a refill before we touch on that and then Beer is Not for Boys?
Actually, more than a refill, I think what I need to do is check in on my son, who's up there,
crushing a 6-pack of craft soda.
He
like
is a soda
champ.
crusher, and I think we're on the verge of him crushing a 6-pack of soda while we're sitting here. So I'm going to check in on him,
Sounds
and then
good.
we will be back.
Right back. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. We have 2 podcasts left to cover, Cincy Brewcast and Gnome's Conversation with Madtree, and episode number 2 of Beer is Not for Boys. We also both have fresh glasses of beer. What Cincinnati staple is in your glass?
This Cincinnati staple, Truth India Pale Ale, 7.2% ABV. It is the biggest selling IPA, craft IPA in Cincinnati. I don't think anybody's disputing that.
No, probably not.
Yeah,
what's the freshness state on that bad boy?
Okay, so full disclosure, here we go. It is a 16-ounce can of Truth.
Yes.
And the truth is, it was canned on August 8th.
Okay.
And we are recording on November 2nd. And tastes great.
So that's what you have. You have a Truth is kind of your tried and true go-to, which is undisputable. It's a fantastic beer. I like trying out new things all the time. So I am drinking a Hazelnut Old Ghosts from Grainworks, which is a milk stout. So I will enjoy it for you since it's not something that you would be able to enjoy. 7.8%, and it's pretty good. I would say that this one is probably. At least a single bussin'.
I knew we were going there. We were going to give it a bussin'.
If not a bussin'. It's kind of in between the two, so it's a bussin' bus. Is that a thing? We'll have to get that with Ship Beers to see if a bussin' bus is a thing.
Okay.
So,
well, very good.
yeah.
Very good. Yeah, Vincent's great. Vincent's doing great. He's about to house a 6-pack of craft soda.
Hell yeah.
Very proud of him over there. Vincent would tell
he
you.
could practically play the burp game with craft soda. Like, he is almost at this week's burp count pint total.
I tell you what, I mean, if Vincent had a microphone, which for a moment I thought he was wanting,
did, yeah.
he was like, can I get up in there? He would tell you, when you ask Vincent, and I encourage you, if you see Vincent and I out somewhere, come up, say hi to me, say hi to Vincent.
Yeah.
And, if I ask him, hey, Vincent, what are you? He'll tell you, number one,
hell yeah.
He's a soda crusher.
He is.
Number two, he's a pants king because he did some time over at Cintas and was folding a lot of pants, and he was very efficient. I mean, so they dubbed him the Pants King.
Nice.
And then
he also drops bars. Like, he was singing to us earlier, and he is
sings
killing it.
So he'll tell you he's a soda crusher, a Pants King, and then a grown-ass man.
Hell yeah.
He'll tell you that.
Hell yeah. Good for him. So, Cincy Brewcast, talking with the amazing guys Brady and Kenny over at Madtree.
Yeah, I mean, fun. I mean, this is 2 shows in a row, or was there a show in between? No, there was a show in between. So we had Gnome, and then it was us.
Yes.
So the show with the Gnome, we were talking about Think Beer, Drink Beer, hosted by John Hall, esteemed beer writer and podcaster and extraordinaire, John, I know you haven't reached out to let us know what you thought about the show, but I would love to hear your thoughts on the show. Just waiting. Hit us up at Truth Beer Pod just about everywhere, and love your work.
truthbeerpod@gmail.com if you're more of an email guy.
Yeah, I love your work. He did a show with Madtree, and then the Gnarly Gnome did a show with Madtree.
Both great shows and both completely different conversations. So it is not something to where if you thought, well, I listened to the John Hall show after listening to Truth, Beer, and Consequences last week, I don't need to listen to this week's show where Gnome talks to Madtree. You are 100% incorrect, because they are both, again, incredibly different conversations. They both go down different branches of Madtree's existence in Cincinnati.
They do. They do branch out that way, and you would be missing out if you didn't listen to actually both shows. Both shows really come together well to give you a picture of Madtree, and in different frames.
Right.
It
really was a relief to me how different the two conversations were. I didn't think that Gnome would ask the same questions, go down the same routes of
you knew
thought.
he wasn't.
But it was still very refreshing to see all these different sides of Madtree very close together in 2 different podcasts. Gnome did mention that he managed to somehow lose the first couple minutes of the interview. He said that there wasn't a ton that we missed. So the beginning of the episode is just him kind of in his studio letting us know that the show starts kind of midway through one of their conversations, but I don't feel like that detracted from the episode.
No, I feel like what he did was he caught us up to the point where the recording or the live recording started.
Right.
From podcasters, newbie podcasters, we understand how that goes.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It may or may not have happened once or twice today.
I mean, buttons are hard.
Yeah.
Buttons are hard. Always have a towel nearby. And we've had beers.
We've had beers. So, 2.0.
Yes.
They talk about 2.0 being around. Am I wrong, or did I mishear this information, or is this just my truth, that 2.0's been open longer than 1.0 was open?
I think that's correct. I mean, 1.0 wasn't open for a crazy long amount of time before they blossomed out into 2.0. If nothing, they're very close in age, with 2.0 edging out slightly ahead. because they are open. I always wanted them to use 1.0 as like an event space where if you had a small wedding, a small, gathering, whatever, they would open that space back up for those smaller events. And they did talk a little bit about some of the ideas that they had for doing similar things with 1.0. It just hasn't fit into their overall I don't want to say identity, but their overall plans.
So there are barrels there.
Correct. Yeah.
And the lease is coming up, but they publicly stated they're going to sign the lease. Mm-hmm. They're going to renew. What happens with it is on the table for discussion.
Right.
Also, on the table for discussion is another location. What's going to happen? What does it look like? Mm-hmm. I mean, they're very forthcoming in the sense of saying they're not done in the sense of they had 1.0, now 2.0, and now there's
the alcove that's going to be opening up in over the Rhine, and spring-ish, because we all know with. I don't even want to say COVID isn't. I don't want to say an excuse, but COVID is not necessarily the only delaying factor. It's just whenever you.
It's actually the crux of all delaying factors.
Currently, right. But
however, yes, when you talk about supplies, mm-hmm. when you talk about labor, when you talk about everything, in my opinion, you could basically pinpoint it back to that.
They did talk about how at the alcove they're going to have something called elevated beer food, which I'm not sure if calling it elevated beer food is just as bad as calling beer liquid or not. I understand what they're going for, but
I get it. I get it. Show me what you're going to do to chicken wings. Show me what you're going to do to potato skins.
Yeah.
Show me what you're going to do to fried mozzarella. I mean, I'm not dogging on you.
No.
I'm asking you to please, please, please bring all of these wonderful, wonderful things up to what is elevated. I mean, spinach artichoke dip. I can't eat it, but
right.
What are you going to do for when my wife and I stop in there for maybe a quick drink and a snack before we go to maybe a date night out at dinner or, mm-hmm. or spending a night at a hotel room? I mean, like, what are you going to provide for us?
Are they going to be making
in the sense of elevated mini sliders?
Yeah, like is this going to be still kind of like the elevated bar food to where it's still mostly like the appetizer starter type of food, or are they going to be having like entree type meals that they're providing you alongside with your beer, your cocktails, your wine?
I don't know, but bring it.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. I'm
bring
there.
it.
I'm there. But in addition to alcove, they're also already thinking about continuing to branch out and to form new buds in a 0.4 or a 4.0, I guess.
Yeah, they're going to sprout up something else.
0.4, they're going to kind of go backwards to a very tiny little.
At 4.0, they're going to sprout a 4.0 at some point. I know we may be going all over the place, and it's just because we're free-flowing with thoughts.
It ties back into Sonder stories. I mean, our discussions on this podcast, on all the podcasts, is as the crow flies. I mean, we are describing these direction-wise as the crow flies. I really liked kind of going back to, circling back around to that other shiny thing that is Cincy Brewcast, talking about how Madtree's growth is continuing to branch and spread out in a mycorrhizal way, just like fungal network. And I point that out because I recently watched a beautiful fungi documentary on Netflix called Fantastic Fungi. So the mycorrhizal network, the mitochondrial network is fresh in my mind, and I love how Madtree talks about how all of these different areas that they are going into, and not saying that they're going into non-beer spaces, but just the different environments that they want to have with between the alcove, between 2.0, whatever 4.0 might be, whatever 1.0 might end up being. It's really exciting. All the different locations talk to each other about everything's just interconnected, and it's wonderful. It's brilliant. And as the crow flies, I'm going to throw this one back to you so you can bring us back to our final destination.
No, I love that you, just dug deep into, fungi and.
I wanted to plant a few seeds about what I was thinking into your mind and hope that would, sprout some new thoughts, new trains of thought, vining out for where you wanted to go and talking about Cincy Brewcast.
You did that extremely well. You're very right about how everything connects.
Hold on. Can you say that again?
How everything connects?
No, before that.
I really understand. I love how you did that. How everything connects.
It does.
It does. And Madtree really leans into that, and they talk about what they do from a give back aspect, and
and
they talked about getting started and meeting with the distributor and how important that first distributor check was, and getting into 2.0 and the space and who are they and what do they want to be, and they really are trying to understand and trying to continue to be what the company wants to be and evolve. Madtree does great things from a give back aspect. Madtree is a place, what they want to be, what they want to offer their guests.
Right.
The beer offerings. What's tough about trying to put some stuff on shelves versus other stuff on shelves.
Correct. Yeah.
It's really fun. The other thing is that the Gnome really gives them a lot of praise, and what I'm going to do, we're going to do a thing here.
Ooh, okay.
So it is a multiple choice.
Okay.
So multiple choice. I don't know if we have imaging, so I'll just stop and say multiple choice. So multiple choice. The Gnarly Gnome tickles Madtree's butthole with what? And we're going to say, okay, multiple choice number 1. Tickles their butt with his thumb. Tickles their butt with an elevated drumstick chicken wing. Or multiple choice number 3, tickles their butt with a feather.
They are all good choices. And please submit your answers to us at truthbeerpod everywhere, or email us your answer at truthbeerpod@gmail.com.
Yeah, and so that was covered in the show.
Yeah, it was. It was a very direct quote. One of the words was a little bit different than what you used, but the sentiment was 100% the same. One of the other things that he touched on with them that he also touched on in Weekly Pint that wanted to tie back together was non-alcoholic beer.
Yes,
it is something that Madtree is looking into. They haven't said if it is something that is a sure thing or not, but it is something that they're exploring. And I remember Gnome talking about this quite a while back. I don't remember if it was on the Weekly Pint or if it was on a Cincy Brewcast episode or maybe Prose, but he said, and this is paraphrasing, I don't remember the exact quote, but he said that to him, the problem with drinking beer or any spirit or wine is the alcohol. Like, there are so many good, and I'll just stick with beers for this, good beers out there, but because of the alcohol, you have to really figure out what to drink, how much to drink, how to time it, eating all that. Whereas if it tasted the same without the alcohol, you could try everything that's out there without saying, hey, I can only have 2. I can only have, one of these, this barrel-aged Imperial, 15% bomb. I can only have 1 ounce of Utopias. I feel like, and I mentioned this in the Weekly Pint in my comments, I feel like the people that choose to drink non-alcoholic beer, they all have their own specific reasons. Maybe it's just to cut down on the actual amount of alcohol that they're consuming weekly, or maybe, they want to go out with friends, but they're the designated driver, but they still want to feel like they're having a beer with the group. I think it has its place. I just think that there's still a lot of work that needs to be done to make it taste the same as real beer. And I think that Madtree, hopefully is taking that challenge on.
That was a great way to approach it, Julia, and I agree. There's many different reasons that somebody would maybe want to have a non-alcoholic beer if it was tasty and filled that craving. It's been hard for the non-alcoholic beer sector to fill the taste craving of a craft beer drinker.
Yeah, I feel like those low-cal IPAs are kind of the same way. There are some, West Side Session IPA, Dogfish Heads, Slightly Mighty, I believe it's called.
Yeah.
There are some out there that they're good, but they still don't occupy that same taste space as.
They don't, and so
nothing wrong with it.
Madtree's been experimenting, and they talk about in the episode, and I encourage you to go and listen for the full conversation, but they talk about the episode going from 1.0 totally beer centric, 2.0 all beer, and then introducing craft cocktails, and then cider, and then some other experiments or ventures out. And they do discuss that they have experimented with non-alcoholic beer, and they're not there ready to release something.
Yeah, they want to make sure that it's right.
They've experimented, and they actually don't know when
or if.
Or
I think
if
they'd like to occupy some of that space, but
or if it's going to come out. They do know that it's a segment of the drinking population that, as a business, they want to provide for.
Right.
They just don't know if it's going to be from them or from somebody else. I'm not telling anything that they didn't say in
the show. Right. Yeah.
What I would say, if I'm going to separate from the show for a moment and just give my own opinion, there's not something in the market that they're probably going to offer. They're not going to offer it until either somebody else, craft, presents a really great option, or they have a really great option. And I totally get that it as an option is something that non-alcoholic beer as an option is a segment and is going to be a growing segment.
Yes.
So them experimenting is great, and maybe they are or could be the brewery that finds a way to be able to do this for craft brewers, because you've got the athletic product out there that they do a couple of different things to, and if I'm not mistaken, Dwayne Johnson is part investor in Athletic Brewing. Not that means this or that here nor there, but I haven't tried any of the Athletic Brewing offerings, but even
it wasn't available in Cincinnati for until
you can
fairly
get
recently. You can get it now, but for a while it wasn't.
You can get it if you order it, and they'll ship it to you.
Oh, okay. Not aware
but
of that.
They even mentioned in the show is like, it's not
quite there.
Yeah, it doesn't scratch the itch, and I think that's the biggest problem is that most of these offerings don't scratch the itch.
Right.
And maybe Madtree can unlock that and scratch the itch, and if so,
awesome.
Totally awesome.
Yeah.
There are many occasions where I would totally forego alcohol, but
you still want that flavor. You still want what that
flavor.
Right,
Yes, absolutely. Flavor is what I'm craving. So I could definitely see that being worked into my routine.
Same,
if you could present something to me that would do that.
Yeah, I agree. Was there anything else you had on Cincy Brewcast? I think that covered all the things that I had. I mean, I just want to say, like, I'm really liking what Madtree is doing in all facets of who they are as a company. 1% for the planet, everything, community involvement, beer, all their different spaces. Well, I say all their different spaces. 2.0, I'm sure that Alcove is going to be amazing, and whatever they end up doing with 1.0 is going to be amazing. So
if we talk about both shows where John Hall in Think Beer, Drink Beer, and then the Gnarly Gnome, when I mash them together, what I know is that Madtree is very passionate about not just the planet and beer, but their employees, associates. They pay time for you to go and volunteer. Yes. You have to do 16 hours of volunteer time, of which they pay you to do most of it. And a company doesn't do that unless they're, number one, passionate about that, and number two, financially stable enough to do that.
Oh, right.
And so the fact that the finances and the give back and the brains and all that other stuff work to be able to do that, I find that awesome. It's excellent. I agree. And when they're on the Gnarly Gnomes podcast, they are having fun, doing their thing. They are continuing to understand who they are as a business, but they are confident in the future. Yes. And that's awesome because the Gnarly Gnome... And not just the future, their future. Their future. The Gnarly Gnome didn't ask... I mean, he asks this of most podcasts, is like, what excites you about craft beer? What are you most afraid of? Like, he didn't even go down that route. No. I feel like you already get that just from listening to them. They are positive and... Deliberate positivity, as Gnome would like to say. I get that from them. It's like, don't even go down that road because they are on it. I mean, it is great to hear that it seems like they not only own and understand their place and are looking to grow, but they really own that. It's awesome. I get it. It really is, and as excited as I am to see them continue to grow, to have these new spaces, to have these new areas where they can impact different communities. I'm also glad to see how firmly rooted they are in Oakley and in the 2.0 space and all the amazing things that has grown into in the few short years that it's been open. Yeah, they also allude to the fact that the 1.0 space is very special. Oh, absolutely. To them, how could it not? And they don't really envision that 1.0 space being somebody else's space from a brewery aspect. I would hope not. But what can they do with that space is something they're going to talk about coming up because they have bounced around a lot of ideas, but they're going to really put together what that 1.0 space might become in the future. Yeah, I agree. It was fun. It was a lot of fun. Check it out. Follow the Gnarly Gnome everywhere. And get your tickets for the Beer Booze Bonks Fest. thegnarlygnome.com/tickets. Do it. We have one more podcast to go, so let's take a real quick break, and we will be right back with Beer is Not for Boys. Julia. Marco. This is Morgan Freeman. Well, Marco, what did you blow the keg on with for your last beer of the night? I'm so excited. I'm so excited. Went up. So excited. Are you as excited as Jesse Spano on pills? I'm so excited. There you go, Julia. I'm so scared. Anyway. No, what did you say? I said I'm more excited than Jesse Spano on pills. Oh, nice. Yeah. Jesse Spano. Big old throwback there. Anyway, I apologize. What are you drinking? No, not it was they were caffeine pills. Caffeine pills. Yes. That's what it was. Yeah. I remember. Blew the keg here at the just wonderful smelling BC's Bottle Lodge.
Shout out
Montgomery.
to the Cintas guy.
Yeah, shout out Cintas guy. Icelandic White Ale from Einstock.
Such a good beer.
It is a good beer.
Yeah.
It is a good beer. I'm glad we get it all the way from, Icelandia.
Yeah, Icelandia.
Beer, delicious.
Podcast, even more delicious.
And
BC's
beer,
is fresh and clean.
Yeah, it is. And Vincent is just
Rocking it.
I mean, just hyped up, loving it here. Almost got on the mics.
God
And
bless.
I think he's a 6-pack down on craft beer.
Probably.
craft sodas. Rachel, when you're listening next Monday,
I had nothing to do with it.
Sorry, but yeah.
So,
beer's not for boys.
Episode 2 with Diamond Bell. We are so excited.
Diamond Bell. And so it sounded like she needed to take a few minutes, and she knew that she wanted to put out an episode.
Mm-hmm.
She got some time, and it was short. I mean, we were about 10 minutes on the episode. Mm-hmm. She recapped that she went to Esoteric's 1-year anniversary.
Yeah.
She was the MC.
She was. She also hosted an all-women's panel.
Yes.
Where she had Anique, which a lot of you may know as Beth's friend from Shift Beers, but Anique is now a brewer at Esoteric Beer. Hell yeah, congratulations to you.
Hell yeah, Anique, congratulations.
Laura Richards, who is the general manager at Esoteric. Kenzie, I can't read my own handwriting. I apologize for this. Kenzie Breinhardt, I believe, who is the tap room manager at High Wire in Louisville, and she also hosts the Boys Are from Mertzen podcast.
Boys Are from Mertzen?
Yeah, Boys Are from Mertzen, where she only interviews females on her podcast. And also Hannah Ferguson, who is the first black female brewer in Ohio. She owns a cidery and a winery in Youngstown, and she also runs a company called Dope, which is dwelling on positive energy. So Diamond ran that panel at the first anniversary of Esoteric. I wasn't able to make it, but I am sure she did an absolutely phenomenal job. So she talked about that and how excited she was to do that and how she hoped she did Esoteric justice, which I don't know how she could, and she has so much energy for that place.
I'm sure she did.
Yeah.
And I didn't or couldn't make it either. It sounded like a fun, fantastic event. Mm-hmm. And, I'm really very, very happy that she was able to have that platform, that medium, and be able to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. She also went over that there are so many black-owned businesses in Cincinnati, but they don't get the recognition to where you know that they're out there to be able to support them. And so I just wanted to say a couple of the ones that I found. There are, I believe when I looked this up, and this article may have been a year or two old, but when I looked up an article, there are over 75 black-owned businesses in Cincinnati that definitely need our support. There is black-owned, Esoteric, Pause Cincinnati, Revel Urban Winery, Muse Cafe, which is right down the street from Westside Brewery, just to name a very tiny few. So she wanted to say, support these businesses. Be sure to allow them to grow and to exist in the world, because they need to be there. They need to have voices, and she is more than happy to help provide those voices as she talks to the members of those businesses.
And she was drinking Valkyrie.
She was. That's the Hazy Norwegian IPA from Esoteric. She actually got to tap that one, which was also very exciting for her.
Here we go.
So again, short episode, but Diamond's voice and what she has to say is definitely needed in the Cincinnati area. And I do have a bit of... I feel a little weird saying that as a white woman, but I can't say that I understand exactly what those struggles are, but I know that there are struggles that these communities go through that are completely unnecessary, and we need to do whatever we can to raise those voices up, raise those people up, raise the businesses up, and just to ensure that everyone has their fair opportunity at success in this world and in this wonderful city.
Well said, Julia. And I'm glad that Diamond is getting into and putting out episodes. And I hope Diamond knows that we are very staunch supporters of what she's doing. And I look forward to everything that is going to come out from Beer is Not for Boys. And, you know, I personally am a huge supporter of not just Diamond Bell, but the diversity that is and needs to be out there in, you know, not just craft beer, but also in, you know, podcasting and such. And so I couldn't be happier that, you know, you were my co-host as a smart, funny, you know, talented female. I mean, the show wouldn't be what it is without you, and I'm happy to, in every case, and I'm sure you agree, to provide our platform to, you know, women, minorities, and along with that, people that we find that are fun and interesting.
Yeah.
And I think the future's bright for Beer is Not for Boys and all of the podcasts that we covered today. And hopefully all of you that are listening think the future is bright for us. And we thank you for listening.
Yeah, and the future for us can't be bright without the futures of these other podcasts that we recap being bright. So listen to Beer is Not for Boys. Diamond's voice is, and her husband who did not join her on this episode, but her voice, their voices are so incredibly important today. So follow her, support the podcast, support Shift Beer, support Sonder Stories, the Gnarly Gnome, and everything that he's doing. Outcast Podcasts, Hustle and Brews, Shift Beers. There are so many out there, and without them sharing their voices and providing their content to us, we can't recap them. And as much fun as we have with it, it is serious. Our main objective is to get you to be interested in what they are saying in their voices, and we want you to listen to them so they keep creating content so that we can keep creating content.
Yeah, we truly hope you enjoy what we do. And if
we have a lot of fun doing it.
Oh, we have just a ton of fun doing it, and we're going to keep doing it. And we would love to have your feedback, and we appreciate your appreciation.
Yeah, so
follow, share,
like and subscribe.
Subscribe, bring beer by BC's Biolodge Montgomery with Truth Beer Pod on the bag, or stop by, buy a gift card and say, hey, it's for Truth Beer Pod. Reach out to us, and if you want to help the show, please do. Please help the show. I want to thank everybody who's been along this journey, and we are going to continue to work to make the show what we want and be better every week.
Yes.
Julia.
Marco.
What are you doing next week?
Next week, I think I'm going to come to BC's Biolodge Montgomery, have a beer, talk about some podcasts with you.
That sounds great.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Cheers.
Cheers.